All right, what is going on, guys? It is time for another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. Episode number 78. That's right, 22 more to go to episode 100 and the grand shenanigans. What are we going to call that event? Shenanigan something. That would be maybe a good one. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, we're back. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode 77 with Eliseo Garcia from Nora, talking about their change into the rally raid side of things and going road books and how everybody loved it. A lot of really cool stuff on there, especially to note the safety side of it and how things have improved just by making that simple change of going to road books, getting together with people like Jimmy Lewis and Matthew Glade from Rally Moto Shop to make that happen. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. That was last week's In the Bivouac. Now it is time for this week's In the Bivouac. And we are going to be in the bivouac. Let's see how many times we can say in the bivouac before the intro song is over. This time around, we are going to be with none other than Robert Mann from the Kansas City Rally Team, or Freedom Rally Team. I don't know. We're going to find out a little bit more about what's going on and what they are doing back east and traveling their way. We see them in Baja quite often over on this coast. So, I don't know. Let's figure out what's going on here. So I'm in the background right now, getting that link ready for him. And then we're going to hit that one. We're going to hit that one. And then I'm going to go to this one. And then all sorts of fun stuff here. All right. Running that intro music here as we're sending that over to him. So give you just a second. So how's everybody been doing? Hope everybody's been having fun, getting their adventures in and riding and doing their thing. Hopefully get some more rally raid stuff here going on soon. Still working on the routes, getting that stuff ready for the adventure raid stuff here in San Diego. Let's turn the party down a little bit. So looking forward to that one. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that. So we'll see in the coming months once we get out of the summer weather, because fair weather rider. Well, it's not so bad here in San Diego. I think we do pretty good. All right, sending the link here. And let's see how we go. Jump in. We are live. I don't want to scare them off. Telling them we're live, you might freak out. We are recording. All right, jump back to the app there. There he is. Give me just a second here. Turn down the party. And let's turn up. Let's see. Robert, are you there?
I am here. Hey, good morning, Victor.
Yeah. How are you? Doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Okay, so where exactly are you guys located? Because I was talking about that in the intro. I'm like, I know they're back east somewhere.
Yeah, we're actually in Kansas City. Sometimes I've heard us referred to as the Kansas City Rally Team, but we are the Kansas Rally Team and Freedom Rally Racing.
All right. Okay, so it was interesting. Dave Pearson kind of made mention of that. Tell me about that.
Yeah. We've been kind of deemed to have a little bit of an identity crisis, but it actually has a meaning. So Freedom Rally Racing is the reboot of a previous Dakar support organization that had been developed out of the Kansas City area back in 2011 by Mike Stanfield and under support by Scott Spears, who's with KTM. Mm-hmm. And then that provided rider support at the Dakar level from 2012 to 2016. And then unfortunately, Mike Stanfield passed away suddenly. Kind of at the end of that period, the organization kind of faded at that point. Scott moved on, and all of the equipment, the support equipment, went kind of underground, literally under the basement of Freedom Cycles here in Kansas City, until last December when I approached the Stanfields about buying that truck and rebooting the Freedom Rally name. So that's what we did. And then the parallel goal was to provide not only paid rider support services, but to also build kind of a crop of young riders, young guns, and bring the sport to other people. So we came up with the Kansas Rally Team concept. Actually, Luke Valentine and Matt Ransom, some friends of mine here in Kansas City or in Kansas, had come up with that. So Kansas Rally Team are young riders that we support. Freedom Rally Racing are riders that we support through the paid rider organization. Okay. So hopefully that helps clear it up just a little bit.
No, it does. And after looking at the names, I was like, okay, I think this is actually what it is. And yeah, so spot on. So Kansas Rally Team, that is the team, and then Freedom Rally Racing is more of I don't want to say just, but is logistics support for rally racers who choose to basically subscribe for it.
That's right. And, the Kansas Rally Team is a little bit tongue-in-cheek because there's basically no place to rally in Kansas. It's kind of akin to being the Jamaican bobsled team and not really having a downhill course. So we kind of use that a little bit of like I said, tongue in cheek, but we travel everywhere we go. So for example, to get to Baja San Quintin, where I saw you last, and back, looks like a caravan of vehicles and trailers and spending a lot of gas to and fro. We just got back from the Tulip Festival in Wyoming, and we're headed to Colorado this week to meet with the Kota guys. Then we go back to Montrose. So we're constantly going somewhere where rally is. We have to go to it at this point.
I know, right? Eventually we'll get to the point where we've got, all the rallies here statewide, at least a couple of them. And then we don't have to travel as far, right? Well,
yeah. I mean, we're definitely talking about, kind of a co-location down in, San Diego or even in Arizona, just kind of depending on what's most favorable. We've got some things kind of spinning up around being involved in dealerships in key adventure and rally markets. That's pretty exciting. So there's a lot of paths going on here within our rider groups. A couple of our paid riders, one of them, John Savanto, has a kind of a neat subplot story. He's writing a book with rally as the backdrop to kind of this narrative of the story. And I'm going to pull up here some of my notes here to see what. So he's got a book titled Manifesto Against Mediocrity that he's writing that's supposed to be released in Q1 of 24 that uses training through rally and the adventure of rally, and ultimately his goal to be on the Dakar stage, to go to Dakar, as the backdrop for this story. So there's a lot in the young riders on the Kansas Rally Team side, lots of different kind of plots simultaneously happening here.
Nice. Well, and that's good. I mean, and that's, everybody, that means that everybody's an active member, in one way, shape, or form in helping promote the sport.
Yeah. We'd love to get people like Dave Pearson more involved, which I think here in very short order will happen. Guys like Mo Hart, yourself, anybody that's got the enthusiasm or been bitten by the rally bug. There's definitely a place. There's only so much money to go around at this point, but certainly the people that are critical to the team. We want to be able to provide a financial contribution to them, make it worth people's time. For some of us that have had good fortune along the way, grown and sold businesses, et cetera, we can kind of give back through this. It's a good conduit for that. And then for those who are up and coming, who people like Mason Klein or anybody that has the enthusiasm and the drive for being in the big show. I hate to see money and kind of the obstacles being the obstacle. And I think there's ways to facilitate that. We put in over $300,000 worth of gear and equipment just in the last 12 months just to make that possible. And really with no expectation that there's a return on investment, more so than just facilitating a path for young riders, being the farm team for rally in the U.S.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys have done a stellar job at it. I mean, I was actually just doing an interview with Tony Palandrani last week or this week. And we were talking and he mentioned that, that rig that you guys have is completely set up. Everything was just there, everything that he needed. and more. So it was really cool, to hear that, and then what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, we've got spare motors on that truck. We've got everything basically to rebuild a bike, in event. We haven't really been challenged by the long moving bivouac events quite yet. Mm-hmm. Our biggest event was the Tulip Festival in Wyoming a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. We had 23 people in our group. We had 13 riders, which was, probably twice as many as we ever anticipated for that. But they just kept coming at us. We've got 10 bikes in our fleet, including an RFR. And the COTA rally, I'm very excited about this. There's been a press release that's gone out. I don't know if it's hit the airwaves quite yet, but basically COTA, it's a one rider, one bike event. However, they've invited us to come in a couple days early for anybody that's doing that event that, wants some final bike prep help getting ready for the event. We'll be there for that. We can actually do wrenching before the event, help you get your rally comp set up, et cetera. And then once the event starts, you're on your own, but we will be at each stage of the event in the evening with tools and kind of, emotional support or however we can help, hand you tools or whatever. Yeah. So that's exciting. And that, that's a clear indication that the path forward for COTA is to probably open that up to more support. And we just want to be there along the way to help support any way we can.
Oh yeah, no. And I did see the press release and I was like, okay, this is big news. And I was definitely a subject for today. But I mean, that having that support. So the COTA rally, I mean, he's really focused. Mike over there is really focused on I think it was that Hellas rally where he kind of based it off of, but really it's Mann Moto style. You were 100% dependent on yourself.
That's right.
But to have something like what you guys are doing, there's stuff that can't be accounted for, and it sounds like that's where you guys are going to step in.
That's right. Yeah, the truck will be right there at each camp each night. I think there's one night where we logistically can't get to the riders, so that one will be, you'll be on your own that evening. But every other night, if you need a clutch cable or if you need a particular wrench or something that can be addressed in the field, we'll be there and able to hand it to you. We can't do any of the work as part of the rules of the event, which frankly makes this event very unique and very attractive for those that are really, looking to kind of step up their game. And if you have to change a tube, you have to change a tube or, do your own wrenching. I would like to see that event because Mike has gotten the kind of the good housekeeping seal of approval from AMA, gotten it insured and other things to kind of legitimize it. That really starts to kind of unfurl the possibility of us having a much larger, more attractive event here in the U.S.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that was something that we talked about. I told him, I'm like, dude, you just laid out the groundwork. You took the hardest part of this whole thing and created, you created the recipe. Yeah. And so I'm curious to see on the way forward. And I think you're right, that they're opening it up. This is like the next step. And maybe not next year, but the year after, we start to see more support crew, or more supported rider, and supported meaning family, right? Having their family there. And I think that's the big thing. And that's like what I've seen at the Sonora rally and I've seen at Baja rally is like, there's teams, right? But a vast majority of it, everybody's just family. They're just there with buddies and, just hanging out. And I think that's a very important thing to continue to carry on.
Yeah, for me, it's actually literally family as well. So my young son, he's actually my oldest of three sons, Griffin is 15, and he's not even eligible to enter Sonora. But we put him out there on the trail. He does some of the Nevada events. He did the Wyoming ride, and he's very enthusiastic about kind of moving on and advancing in the sport, but more so on the business and kind of the growth of rally support. And I've got a son who loves to cook and, to be there in the camp and to help be the chef for the riders and other things. So we're really pulling it together, like I said, with as many kind of friends and family as we can bring into this. Yeah,
no, and that's great. I mean, and that's, again, it adds to the cohesion of the team. If everybody knows everybody, everybody's cool with everybody. I mean, it's because there's some days that the riders will experience.
Yes, absolutely, and we've had some of those. We had a DNF at Yellowstone or at the Tulip Festival there that was just due to a mechanical and it was unrecoverable at that particular event, at least for that rider. And we know we're going to face adversity. We haven't hit the big challenge yet, which will be the Sonora for us this year. We've got, I believe at this point, 4 or 5 supported riders for that event and a couple paid flying riders. So that'll be the real test, and so super excited about that. So we're doing that. We're doing Kota, Sonora. We'll be at Baja 6 days, and I think maybe the December Baja. That rounds out our year, and then we're kind of slated for next year to be at 6 events. If you ask me what all of those are, I'll do my best to remember, but kind of the usual suspects. I think early in the year, we're going to try to get the SoCal back together, if I'm hearing things right. Then moving into, depending on where Sonora fits into the schedule next year, if they do a spring or fall or both, we'd have that one. And then, of course, the Baja events back down in the Baja.
Nice. Yeah. So, we at this point, we have enough to keep everybody busy with rally for the year, whether it's training or an actual rally race. So speaking of which, where did all of this start for you?
Yeah.
I mean, we know the rally team and we know, but where did you get started?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm enthusiastic on the business development side. I'm an entrepreneur. Have been for pretty much all of my professional life. Luke Valentine here in the Kansas City area is actually up in Manhattan, Kansas, where Kansas State University is. He's a French guy who grew up in France, having the Dakar Rally kind of skirt by his homeland in his town. He came over here as a college student and then professor at K-State. He and I met on the trail, and he planted the bug with me. And then he just kept nudging me to sell my business, or at least cash out enough of it to help rally. And finally, we did that. And so that was, like I said, late last year. So Luke's been in the rally world for quite a bit longer than I have, probably 8 or 10 years. And then he's got a crew of guys that he helped support before I came along, that he was calling the Kansas Rally team. Mm-hmm. And so we just kind of played off that, grew it from there. And we've got a lot of really strong Kansas contributors to the sport. So Bulletproof Designs, Bike Graphics, there's some Counter Shocks, Nathan Looney. There's some products and motorcycle organizations here in Kansas City that are all very enthusiastic around rally. So me personally, always been a dirt bike rider. I've been I joke that I've been running from the police down railroad tracks for many, many years on my dirt bike, which is true on multiple levels. That's probably my biggest. I'm not an ISD gold medalist or anything like that, but I really at the end of the day, I thrive on the personal aspiration to enable the goals and dreams of other people, and in turn, mine are enabled as well. It's more kind of a benevolency and altruistic look at things, and I just have the bug on rally. So that's really from whence this all comes.
Nice. And I mean, and how many? You've been riding dirt bikes forever. So how many events and where was your first event for rally? When did you discover it?
Yeah, it would probably be I can't remember exactly if it was SoCal or Yellowstone, but those two I kind of put on the same parity as far as run or well-developed road books for events. Those are the two I look forward to the most. I'm not particularly enthusiastic about dune hopping or anything like that. I'll let the younger riders do that. I've done Sonora as school, not the event itself. But yeah, I like what Dan Bartolucci does for the SoCal event, Pahrump rallies. Scott Bright and Scott Bloom, and those guys have put together some great events. It's just there's so many, honestly. But Luke drugged me to Dumont Dunes first. That was really where this all began.
Oh man, it made you go chase waypoints in the dunes.
Yes. That
is not the business. Dunes are not fun.
Yeah. Nice. We slept in bivy tents on the ground. I mean, we did it full legit style, so nice. We could kind of see how it all went down. But
so roughed it for a little bit. And speaking of which, so at the San Quintin event, I spotted you on 500, but then I think it was the last day out, you took the RFR out.
Correct.
I mean, that's like the perfect, because I've always been curious, like how the RFRs are versus, basically a prepped 500 EXC. What was that like? What do you notice right away on the RFR versus the others?
Yeah, so a little stronger rider than I rode it actually in Wyoming, and the comment was basically it kind of extends your duration, extends your stamina power, your staying power to go fast for longer periods of time. The suspension and the setup of the bike, soaks up a lot of the small stuff, the chatter. So your fatigue is much lower. You can go faster. Now, in that particular event, it was a situation where in Wyoming, it's not as great for the technical, more enduro style riding. Mm-hmm. But for the stretchier stuff like Baja San Quintin, it was perfect because it's fast and flowy, does well in the dunes. Mm-hmm. So it's the right bike for more open terrain. It's not as well suited because of its heaviness and bulkiness for the tighter stuff. For the tighter stuff.
Okay, so it's like, for most events, like what I'm hearing is probably like, say, Kota, Wyoming Tulip Festival, those kind of events, 500 EXC with a rally light setup is probably going to be the weapon of choice.
Exactly. That's right. And there were even guys on two strokes out of Wyoming, which almost to me was almost even better setup, just given at least one of the particular days where things got pretty tight.
See, I've always this. You don't really see two-stroke out there as far as rally bikes go, but I've always been kind of curious of it because it's like a super light bike, and my only thing is the fuel mileage. That would be my main concern.
Yeah, they had some hacks on there with extended range tanks, and if you don't know the story of Luis Balastugi, mm-hmm. He from, I believe it was 2012, he did the Dakar on a 125 two-stroke. So there are stories out there of people, really pushing those things to their limit. They were changing motors, during the event and whatnot. But anyway, it can be done. That's kind of an extreme example.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, okay, well, 125, maybe that sucks a little bit less gas, but I mean, I've seen it before. I mean, I've seen the Lowenbergs out of Texas doing it on two strokes. And I mean, and their comment was just stay out of it. Don't, as long as you're not gunning it, you can get mileage out of them. And so I'm like, exactly right. But then, so then I think I'm like, okay, well, but the cool part is that they're super light,
Yes. Yeah, not as fatiguing. So for our particular organization, what we're going to do, so we've got 10 bikes in fleet now, ranging from 450, even an SX that's been modded with a 6-gear add, mm-hmm. all the way up to the RFR. We've got some 500s from KTM, some 501s. And so we kind of threw everything into the mix. We've distilled it down to being that the Husky 501 is the platform of choice on the rally lights, and of course the RFR would be for the big bikes. So that's probably where we're going to go in the next 2 years, is to refresh our fleet, with probably a emphasis towards the 501s. Though Husky's got a closed course version of the 450 now that's not choked, that apparently is coming out as well. So.
Nice. Tell me about that decision to go down to the. I'm fond of the 501 because I've got one sitting in the garage, even though it's a 2016. But how did you guys drill down to the 501 being the platform?
Well, so these young riders, these young guns that are already fast in other formats. So on our team, we've got 5 or 6, depending on kind of the day of the week. These young guys that already have enduro experience, fast bike experience. So we've stuck them all on the bikes. And so Nick, Alec, Bronner, and Zach Bronner here in Kansas, all top performing AA riders in enduro and desert, have been on all of them. They helped us vet it out. Matt Ransom, who's run Sonora, Tyler Hackney, even Luke. So Luke, his bike of choice from the beginning has been the Husky 501. It really, I think there are multiple factors in play there. I've heard kind of cringe stories of the suspension, the swing arms cracking. We haven't had that problem. So everything else has suited up perfectly for that bike. But like I said, we haven't had that mechanical issue. For us, standardizing the fleet is really important, though, obviously moving parts from one bike to the next. So we really just kind of have to pick a platform and kind of go with it.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I've heard, I haven't heard anything about the swing arms cracking and all that, but part of me thinks like, okay, well, it really depends on the type of racing that you're doing with it. And rally wise tends to be a little less rough and demanding as like some of the hard enduro stuff or even the Baja stuff, right? I mean, even the rallies down in Baja don't traditionally take the same Baja roads that you would see that are all clapped out.
Right.
So
for us, the most volatile or vulnerable part of the bike is the rally navigation tower itself. And so we standardize on the RMS Sonora towers. Those things have been bulletproof, though we finally did break one. Apparently, we were the first one to break one a couple weeks ago at the Tulip Festival. Matthew Glade was awesome, got us a replacement right away. But it took a pretty hard smack, but none of the nav equipment itself was damaged, which is exactly what we hope to see happen in that situation.
Yeah, zip ties, duct tape, and safety wire will get you to the end of the stage. But if your navigation equipment is not functioning, that will not get you to the end of the stage.
Yeah. And I don't know if we're going to have an opportunity on this call, but I would certainly love to talk about navigation equipment in more detail, digital versus paper road books, kind of where we are on that thought curve as well. Yeah. We've got some things kind of brewing and some ideas for that, but nice. I'll let you kind of guide that.
I'm all up for any subject. That's why I don't do show prep. Just let it go. So shoot, what do you guys got? If you're ready to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're running kind of a range of different kind of almost beta testing platforms all the way up to stuff that's in market. So if you haven't seen, Matthew Glade has done a little bit of a teaser on a platform that he's working on that he's planning to deliver. I think he said sometime early next year. So we'll be trying that out down the road. For now, we've got the Tower Ones from is it RNS? ICO Racing that has those. Yep. So that has been, of all of the platforms, the most dependable for us. There's a few little bugs that are still being worked out. It's got the best visibility so far. Willem Avenant is announcing and using right now in South Africa a device that he has been working on that uses an Android tablet. I think the visibility is still kind of a question mark, though he apparently has some tablets that have higher visibility. So the challenge with digital, as you can hear, the theme is the visibility. And so even with the Tower One coming back on days where the sun is behind you or overhead, if you have any dust or really even without dust, the tablets are hard to see. So that seems to be kind of the Achilles heel on digital right now is visibility. The convenience almost, to me, outweighs that, though. So the ability to load a PDF file in your waypoints right on a T1 or on these Android platforms is so handy. And you can do it particularly for training because you can get out onto a road book without loading paper, just lickety-split and be on your way. So those are the advantages. The disadvantages are, you take down your tower, and if that's your trip meters for your Odo and Cap, then you're kind of dead in the water. But technology is pretty darn stable these days. And so it's, that's a pretty low risk. But paper, if you knock your road book down and you take off your handle, you can still kind of hand crank and move your chart along. So I think if somebody can solve the screen visibility problem, which I think we're pretty close to doing, I think we'll have a solid platform. And I think Luke Bennett at ICO might be close. Willem, it might be very close. The Carpe is decent. ERTF that they're using in Europe is, I believe, is going to be the standard for Dakar next year. So it's definitely going that way.
Yeah, I'd be curious. There's a couple of things. Like I agree with the convenience of it. My wish list, aside from the visibility, I feel like if there's a film applied to it, or something that will keep the glare off of it, because that's what it is. It's just the glare from the sun, or the sun hitting it, and it's the glare. So if there's a way to do it so that you can put something on there that doesn't, because I'm a big fan of the matte finish screen protectors. To get rid of that glossy. There's got to be something similar to that, or that's less matte. I don't know, that combination that will help absorb more of the light instead of reflect it back at you and causing that glare.
Yes. So somehow Garmin has unlocked this on their Montana platform. So I have Garmin 751 or 750Is, I think they are, for our riders that can come on and off our bikes if we're doing any kind of GPX routing or waypoint, confirmation stuff. The brighter the sun, the easier those screens are to see. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So historically, it's been a trade-off of power to visibility. So you had to pump more juice into these digital road books in order to see the screen. But somehow, like I said, Garmin appears to have unlocked that. So if we can map whatever that screen technology is into the roadbook platforms, I think we may have solved this problem.
Yeah.
And I'm a tech guy, so this gets me excited, and I like to be involved with it. I've talked to Mike Johnson at RallyComp about kind of incorporating the RCs into the roadbook platforms. Hopefully at some point we'll make some headway on that, because I think, to me, adventure rally is kind of the parallel sport that's developing here. Adventure class riding being the largest growing sector of motorcycle sales in the U.S., if not in the world. And there's a lot of people that love the competitive aspect of adventure riding. They don't love investing $2,000 in a tower, roughly. And so I think if the tower in the road book can be your GPS, your music system, your roadbook navigation tool, kind of all in one, put on there a code so that if somebody unlocks the code during a sanctioned event, that it takes them out of the event, and things like that. So there's some ideas being thrown around, but I think getting RallyComp to kind of marry itself along with the tablet is going to be a game changer. It would set US Rally apart for our events, above and beyond anything that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's already, the RallyComp has already done a lot, especially this new Evo version that Mike has. Yeah. I mean, I love it from, obviously from the organization standpoint. Is when I was race director, I was lucky that my first year as race director, or my first experience with Baja Rally, we were already on the RallyComp system. And I heard the nightmare that it was before with GPS tracks, overlays, and all of this stuff. And I'm like, I'm glad I wasn't there for that. But
there's a really funny, the version of the Yellowstone Rally when I first started was cow tags. So he literally put, if you don't know what a cow tag is, it's the ear tag you put in the ear of a cow so you know what the lot number is for your herd. And they would put cow tags on the fence posts, and then once you hit that waypoint, you had to text a phone number with the tag number of the cow tag to confirm that you had acquired that waypoint. Yes.
Oh, man. I mean, low tech, but it works, right?
It did work.
It's just scalability is not necessarily the best for that.
Yeah, it's just an interesting, kind of a funny aspect of rally, and people will figure out how to make this work one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. They'll figure out how to get lost and find themselves, and it's just that. But yeah, so the other thing I'm thinking is like, well, I'm with you, right? I like the idea of like the Tower One, for instance, and ICO and those guys know how to build a device. I mean, we know that because their ICO, even their oldest ICO, is still working and still out there and is still on bikes all the time. Ryan Narino has them on some of his bikes. And so to me, in my wish list would be one, either a coating on the screen or some kind of screen, one that you could, so you can see it in the sunlight. And it doesn't take a separate battery to power it, or you don't have to rewind the stator for it. And then the other would be is actually go backwards. Keep it simple. Just show me the road book. ICO, RNS, all of these guys have done a great job of creating these devices. I just think I'm like, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
I would rather have a road book holder or the equivalent of a road book holder, even if it is the same size as like a RB801. But make that screen the full size of that RB801, right? No borders, that. So you got a really big display to see these 3 notes, or maybe we, up the industry standard and now you can see 4 notes.
Yeah.
And that's all it does. Just show me the road book.
No, you're spot on. And if you have a phone holder on your bike or even a RAM mount that you could move your phone up there, if the digital failed and you can put Rally Blitz on your phone and have two trip meters that are still running, you're still in the game.
Yeah.
If that device is allowed. But yeah, I think, not to throw any shade on these guys who build this stuff, Mike and and Luke are engineers, and they're fantastic engineers. I think where I can help bring value to the equation is to kind of pull some of these pieces together, and instead of these islands of technology and platforms, is to get them out and fluid into these events, so that when you show up at events, it's fast and smooth to lock in. Even having the devices on your bikes in advance would be really phenomenal for a lot of riders. I know Rally Comp would sell many of them to people that wanted to be set up and go. And then if Luke could somehow incorporate Rally Comp technology into his platform, that seems to make a lot of sense. So yeah, a lot of different kind of equations or scenarios here that I think the market or the rally riders themselves need to kind of drive, like you're saying. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, absolutely. If that's the prevailing wisdom. Mike Jorgensen, friend of Rally in our area, is he has Rocky Mountain Tours up in Montana. Montana Mike is kind of his moniker. He has a device he fabbed for the Tower 1 that allows you to mount 2 trip meters above the Tower 1. So you literally have that as a backup, and then you could do phone as a backup or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I like that, because even if you could bum a note from somebody if for some reason the Tower 1 went out, and so there's different, or you got a struggling bike with the electrical system, you're trying to get rid of things, but you need minimum navigational stuff, which is going to be at least your compass and your trip meter. So I mean there's valid points for everything, right? And then you also want to uncomplicate the cockpit, and you want to uncomplicate all the wiring and everything you got to do. So the less devices, the better, in that case. So yeah, I think there's a fine balance. I feel like if there was something that was specific to just holding the road book, I think it may make the transition easier. If in my particular case, right, in thinking about it, it's like, okay, well, I've invested on the RNX GFX Pros for the bike, so I've already got 2 of those. So if I replaced it with a tablet, then I don't really need those. So now what do I do with those?
Yeah,
I'm sure I could sell them to them, but I kind of want to hold on to them because they're very purpose built. So that's where I think, like, okay, well, maybe some of these guys that have already invested in this, if we could figure out, like, hey, if you do a Galaxy tablet with this film on it, and then and then you can control it this way. I mean, like, that's something that I've been working on, but that would maybe make it easier, because now, I'm just buying basically a PDF reader.
Yeah. I built, right before the Wyoming trip a few weeks ago, I built 3 completely modular setups using so RMS has a handlebar mount with a battery backpack that all self-contained. You don't tap into the bike power for anything. It's its own entity. It's got enough power to run a paper road book. So you can literally put it on, 4 bolts later, you have a full nav tower setup with the paper road book and trip meters, self-powered, which is phenomenal. That's great. It's a low barrier to entry, in terms of setup. When you move up the spectrum into some of this digital stuff and into the, like the Sonora towers, the cost obviously goes up, and so does the complexity of tying it into the bike. So to me, there are different audiences here. There's the you and I that ride for, maybe we blend our bikes for different purposes, or we dedicate our bikes. So, if you dedicate your bike, then a Sonora tower, digital road book, or paper setup is perfect. If you hybrid your bike for dual sporting or other purposes, or even scrambling it or whatever you do, you want that tower off there and ready for the bike to be used for other things. So I think there's different target markets for different configurations.
For different ones. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, and that was the purpose of, for me at least, the 500 is like, okay, well, I'm going the tower ride. I'm putting this right now. I'm doing it more as a rally light setup, because I feel for a lot of people getting into the sport, that's the way to go. It's just something really basic, right off the handlebars, nothing fancy. And if you don't like it, you could take it off in 20 minutes and you're back to your regularly scheduled dirt bike.
Yeah.
So
there's a RAM mount with a 1.5-inch ball, which is the large ball. This is my very first road book was an iPad with a 1.5-inch RAM ball and its buttons, and that's a 5-minute plug and play situation. So there's very, very straightforward solutions. There's just too many options, and it could be a little bit kind of overwhelming to those kind of coming into rally and rally adventure, is to kind of figure out what makes the most sense to them. So I think to the extent we're able to kind of help guide that as a support organization or through your podcast and other ways, I think kind of making method out of the madness is going to be important for bringing new people in.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that's actually, I've been thinking about that, is going back and revisiting, the starting from zero side of things, because I do feel like there has been a lot of people that are, the sport, I've seen it growing, but now I feel like it's even more so, with more curiosity and more people coming out of the woodwork and saying, hey, I want to try that. And I think that anything that we can do to make it easier, like, hey, here's the recipe, right? Like, here's the YouTube video that's going to get you from A to B or A to Z. At least this will get you to a starting line, or this will get you to your first road book.
Right.
Pick your poison, and don't blame us for the credit card bill. But But there is a lot of stuff out there, and you're right. I think like you started, with an iPad, with something basic. You know what? It doesn't matter if you can't read it in the sun. You're not trying to race. You're just out riding road books. Stop, change your angle, whatever. Oh, okay, that's the next note, and then you're off to the next.
That's right. Yeah, I have this kind of lofty dream of an event in the U.S. where people can show up with bare bikes and have them equipped. Maybe not gearing, maybe not some of the more technical aspects of the bike itself, but if you show up with a 500 or a 501 that with 6 gears, that's fast enough, and if the event or us as a support organization can plug and play you, and you can pay us a few bucks to put that on and take it off, then maybe that reduces the barrier to entry for a certain segment of riders for these events. Yeah,
I mean, it definitely turns into a run what you brung kind of thing.
Yep.
And that will allow people. So that's that's kind of what I've been looking at with doing this adventure raid stuff, is being able to take a 1200 GS adventure and put a roadbook holder on it, paper roadbook, and show guys how to navigate, and then go navigate roads here in San Diego or here on the West Coast, or basically create the recipe and then have because in Europe, it's huge. You look
right.
And they have these huge events with 60 plus riders that show up, manual roadbook holders. And when I'm talking manual, like they didn't even go like the F2R
right.
cheapy plastic. No, they like Tupperware with rods across it,
Yeah.
And some of them went fancy, and they have, they have an ICO on there, and a lot of other guys, they've got, their Android phone with the F2R app on it.
Mason, I think you've heard him tell the story that he used to build roadbook readers out of cardboard boxes and number 2 pencils.
That's how at a young age there was a thing.
You got the bug win.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of those European organizations and events, Rally in Europe, as you've indicated, is ubiquitous there. It's kind of like, what is that? And I think the what is that-ism is going to fade into the background here in the next few years. It's already happening, especially as we have young U.S. riders on the big stages internationally. But I'm talking to, Bart at Baz and the Nomad people about, kind of doing some kind of reciprocity program for rider support. So if you want to go do XYZ, the generic rally in Croatia, for example, we would send you through Nomad or whoever is going there. And then vice versa, if they have riders coming to the U.S., they would route them through Freedom Rally.
Through Freedom Rally, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's, that's an important aspect, because you have, one is, it's very largely known that getting into Rally Raid means you're going to travel, and both in a good way and a bad way. For some people, that's like, well, I don't want to travel, but for others, it's like you're going to get to see roads in Baja that Baja legends have literally told me, I've been down here years and never been down that road.
Yeah.
Or you're going to go to Europe and you're going to see these sites, or you're going to go to Wyoming, or you're going to go, anywhere else, the Southern California desert. You're going to go places with Rally Raid. So I think what you guys are doing is important.
Yeah, I think this is what, you're starting to get into kind of the allure of this. So you marry the kind of the competitive dynamic with, hitting your waypoints and getting to the finish as being kind of a, overcoming adversity type thing, and then actually winning an event, being one of the aspirations for some people, or winning a stage. And then you combine that with adventure and mountains in the background and oceans, on your right, and all that. It just adds to the patina of this sport in a way that I would challenge anyone to find another type of activity, motorsport or otherwise, that comes close to what this format offers.
Yeah, no, and you're right, and it would be very difficult for that to happen. The amount of Formula One, MotoGP, and but good luck getting on a team, and unless you're the guy cleaning the lug nuts at the end of the day, you're not going to really get to see.
Yes. We're actively seeking a lug nut cleaner, by the way.
FYI. Yeah. Maybe I should put like a job board on the Chasing Waypoints website.
Seriously though, like literally every event we go to, we have like two people say, "Hey, what can I do to help with the team?" And I don't need paid, or whatever. It's that too is just another dimension of this sport. It's like, man, the people that have gotten bit with the bug of this thing, who are so enthusiastic about it, I think at the end of the day, they see what it could do for other people, the adventure that it can open up for people that maybe, have been on their couch wanting to go to Dakar kind of thing. So, this is a really exceptional format. And I will tell you, the hardest one logistically that we had so far were the Baja events. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't not go because of the logistical challenge. I would do it a little bit different. But we literally drove from Kansas City to San Quintin, uber numbers of hours, uber numbers of gallons of gas. It's hard to get to. But what we can do as an organization is get you to fly to San Diego and get you from there down to those events, because you don't want to miss those. The environment and the opportunities, the formats are too good down there for the logistics to be a barrier. So we're trying to eliminate some of those barriers is the point.
Yeah.
To get it.
Well, and that's good. And I think that I really like the idea of what you guys are trying to do and basically networking with other teams around the world that can provide the same fly and ride structure, because that is important to help grow the sport. I think the biggest thing is that, and just based on the traction and what I've seen from the stuff that I've done and getting into rally and that kind of stuff, is that there are a lot of people that are curious about it, but the recipe is what needs to be developed. And I'm going to use the term hand holding, not in a like, not in the sense that, okay, you're dumb and you don't know what no, it's just you're venturing into a new realm and a new sport. And it's kind of like everything we can do to make it easy, painless, to make sure that people don't invest money in the wrong way and the wrong things and go overboard when they could just be doing something basic that will help them get into the sport. I think that's the biggest.
Yeah, 80% of people avoid things that are intimidating just because it's intimidating, even though it could enrich in their life and, really open up a world of opportunity and adventure for them. When you can take down some of that intimidation and open up those doors, people are grateful for it, and they'll pay you for it, which is great, because we'll take that money that they pay us and feed these young gun riders on their journeys, and it's got a really good symbiosis in that way. So yeah, anything that I can do that we can communicate through your mediums to help riders understand that this is something that, it can feel a little intimidating at first, but there are resources and people, yourself and others, that will go overboard to make sure that your experience is great. I've got a fun story along those lines, if you don't mind me sharing real quick.
No.
Barrier. So Stephanie from Mexico City, who came up to do the Baja San Quintin, and if you know her last name, go ahead. You can say it. I don't recall, but she came up with her bare bones Husky. I think it was 501 to San Quintin, and wires hanging out, no nav, no setup, and she was going to do the rally one way or the other. And Dave Pearson and others just jumped in that day, the night before the event, and had her fully set up and outfitted with rally nav equipment ready to go the next morning. And it was her first rally. She's been back to other rallies since. I suspect she has also gotten the bug, and we'll see her at many more to come. So that's the camaraderie and the spirit of this sport that's just unmatchable, I think.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun is everybody in the bivouac, everybody helping each other, and it's a very different vibe. And I think I think what we're gonna see too is a lot of influx of riders that are Baja riders that have been the typical point to point, sprint race type riders are going to transition to this as they discover that, it's actually not as bad as they think. And I'm still looking for the magic. There's, we know cost is one thing, right? And maybe people don't see the value yet in this whole rally thing, but something that blew my mind, and to this day still, and it was Matthew Glade that said it. He was like, just look at the used gear market for rally. And I'm like, what used gear market?
Exactly.
And he's like, yeah. So if you need to sell something, I can find somebody to sell it to for you, but just take a look. I've done it before. I've looked for ICOs on eBay and Marketplace and everywhere. You don't find them. Yeah. You don't generally find used rally equipment, and it's because people get bitten by the bug, and it's just and to this day, every once in a while, I'll just do it just because it's a Sunday, and still. There is no, which is phenomenal, which I mean, the things like that is people get into it and they go, this is way better.
Yes, right. This is precisely why we don't buy used rally bikes, is because if somebody is parting with that, they've used up all of the mileage on that.
She's done.
Yes. It's not because they just decided to exit the sport, typically in most cases, or aged out or anything like that. It's been rode hard and left out wet, as they say here in Kansas.
Clapped out. But I mean, it's rebuilding it and going through it, which that's where I'm at on the 501 and making that happen. But it's part of the fun, and I think that's an important thing of rally too, is like you're going to ride these bikes for a very long time, a very extended period of time. So you want to make sure that everything is as best as it can be. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, we've got Scott Spears that's helping with our wrenching. I would challenge anyone to find a better motorcycle mechanic in the United States, if not, arguably in the world. And he's been asked to join, international teams, has been on international teams. He's doing this kind of in a moonlighting context. His full-time day job is with KTM. But that is a critical ingredient to the kind of the bike build and setup. If you're ever at an event that we're also at, just look at the wiring harnesses that go up to our Sonora towers and the way everything is routed, and the nip and tuck of every piece on those bikes is artistic. And it's really fun. It allows him to kind of express his inner artist, but at the same time set riders up to make sure that people are getting home at night to the extent that we're able to do that. So, yeah. Anyway, I need to wrap up because I've got church here in a few minutes. And, would love to get back on at any point. I do want to plug one quick event, August 27th here in Kansas. For those of you who are looking for the hottest destination that you can find for vacation, Mason and his brother and Mason's girlfriend are planning to fly into Kansas to do an intro to rally here at our moto farm. We have a dirt bike farm where we do training and other events. We're having a race there on the Sunday at Air Scramble. But it's just, I also kind of say that tongue in cheek. But the point is, we're working very hard to kind of build our crop of riders out of Kansas. It just happens to be in conjunction with an event where we'll have some of the pro star power here, along with an actual race. If anybody out there that are listening to this in the Midwest.
Nice. Yeah, we'll definitely hook up again and get some more information. And then, I definitely want to pick Scott's brain on some stuff for the 501.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Awesome. I would encourage you to have Scott on. Just his richness of experience in Dakar, what it means for a mechanic to stay up all night and have the rider ready. And then just the commitment to as close to perfection as you can get for a rally equipped bike it's just a fun conversation to have, and he'll go on. He can talk longer than I can if you believe that.
All right. Well, let him know the invite's coming. I'm going to reach out to him on Facebook.
He just spoke to me while we were talking. So absolutely. And Victor, awesome. Thanks for all you're doing for the sport. Really appreciate you. It was great to meet you in Baja, and I'll look forward to seeing you out on the trail.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robert. Enjoy.
Yeah. Take care, buddy.
All right. You too. See you. Bye.
All right.
All right, so there you have it. Robert Mann Freedom Rally Racing, Kansas Rally Team. So really awesome to see. I mean, really good people. And yeah, their pit setup and everything they've got going on is really, really awesome. I saw it firsthand at San Quintin and what they've been doing. And he's right. And what we left the show, or what we left talking on with Scott Spears at the helm, working on these bikes and all that stuff. Just watching his videos and what he's doing in the trailer, which is really awesome, because in the trailer, he's got his whole workshop set up. He's able to do so much on these bikes and get these bikes dialed in. And that, I think, is very, very important. Again, something that we talked about, when you go rally racing, when you go into these rally raid adventures, you're going to be on the bike for a long time. So when we were talking earlier about how the 450 RFR feels better for longer distances, is more stable, less fatiguing, that kind of thing, that is absolutely huge when it comes to riding. So having a reliable bike is absolutely huge. So if you guys are listening and you're thinking about getting into the rally raid sport and getting into this, the best advice I can get you is look at the gear, talk to Matthew Glade at Rally Moto Shop, get some of get the basics. Here's just a solid performing navigation setup, right off the handlebars. That's what I'm doing on my 501, just, because I want to go that route. I have the moto-minded tower for the front of the bike. I've got all of that set up. The plates are still on there and everything, but I want to go this route because this is what I'm talking to people about, and this is what I want to show, that it's actually a very simple setup that you can do. So you've got the recipe, a real basic navigation kit that will work. Not super fancy road book holder. You've got at least one ICO on there, that kind of thing. But then spend some time on the bike. Make the bike comfortable. Fuel range is big, suspension is big, and a comfy seat is big. So make sure your gearing is set for long range, that you're going to be going out there. A lot of these roads and stuff like that, you got to think fast fire roads. You've got to think flowy washes and things like that. The fun stuff that you enjoy riding is the majority of what rally raid events target. Now, there are some rally raids like Sonora Rally that's got access to some really gnarly dunes right there in the local area. So you're going to see a little bit more of that, which is totally fine. But like I said, the majority of the events that you're going to go to, you're going to find that they tend to be more flowy and fun and that kind of stuff. So if you're curious about getting into rally, don't be afraid to hit me up. I'm happy to help connect people and get people pointed in the right direction and getting you into the sport, because you know what? It's not that bad. And like Matthew told me, just look at the used gear market. There is no used gear. There is no used gear market. That's got to say something. So on that note, guys, it's Sunday. My watch is reminding me it is time to get into the garage and get back on Project 501. So for those of you tuned in, thank you very much. You guys are going to be hearing this at the end, first week of August already. So I hope you guys have been tuning in and all of the previous episodes. Let me know what you guys think. And then do not forget, if you're listening to the podcast, head over to the Instagram. There is a link up in the link in bio, and you can get directly in contact with me. If you've got any questions, if you got anything, anybody that you want to nominate to be on to the show, that's the ticket. That's the way in. And I am looking forward to hearing from you guys. So with that being said, hope everybody is having a great Sunday, and we will see you guys next week. All right, that is the wrap for the Chasing Waypoints podcast this week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you heard. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of others. Also, follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook under Chasing Waypoints, Instagram, Chasing Waypoints _official, and of course, the YouTube under Chasing Waypoints. Hope everybody has a good week. We will see you guys for the next episode. Remember, shiny side up, and don't forget to tag us. We want to see where you guys are riding and what you guys are up to. Have a great week.